Hello, amazing, beautiful people. This is Jules, and welcome to Hangouts with Jules. I'm so happy that you're here, and we have an amazing week and a half planned for you. You're going to learn so much about your PH360 profile, and if you have any family and friends who haven't done the Hangouts with Jules and need to sign up, be sure and let them know about the program so that they can get excited and get into this program. Because going through this program is going to take you from nuts to bolts through the whole thing, and you're going to be coming out on the other end, and you're going to be so confident about what you're doing with your PH360. It's going to be amazing. And so today we're going to be going through the profile, making sure that we have the correct data profile and learning a little bit about what's in the profile, questions and why, and going into some details there. The next one, number 2, which is in 2 days, which will be on Tuesday, that one is going to be on the getting around the profile, and that means really ins and outs of everything. In the next two hangouts, you're going to learn how to do an update. You're going to learn how to answer the questions correctly. You're going to probably have a lot of different answers than maybe you did in the past. And so I just want you to know that that is natural and normal. So don't worry. If your answers change, it's okay. And then number 3 is all about food. Oh my gosh, people go cuckoo for food. And you guys feel free to chat in the chat box. You are welcome to chat. I'll just say hi, everybody, right here, so you can see, like, just skate down and leave a little chat there. I know that this is your first time, but just jump right in. By the time we get to Hangouts 5, you guys will be all chatting with each other. This is also the place to answer questions. If you guys have a question, you can post it in the chat box. And down at the bottom where you're inputting your chat, you can see that there is a little that you can mark the answer to a question there. And so just you can say that it's a question versus just a chat. So feel free to do that too, and that's great. Okay, so we are, and then number 4, let me just tell you a little bit about that. Number 4 is going to be all about everything else. And so that'll be fitness, play, social, mind, career, and track, and that's going to give you everything that you need to know in order to really thrive in life, because we tend to focus on the foods when we first start PH360, but the reality is that all of these epigenetic factors are so vital and so important. You're going to be blown away by what you hear on Hangouts number 4. And then number 5, you don't want to miss this, because we're going to tie everything together. We're going to talk about living with PH360 and how do you incorporate it with your family, etc. And then we're also going to be getting our mindset and our actions cohesively moving together and moving forward so that we can achieve the health of our dreams. And the health of our dreams is kind of sometimes what we think the health of our dreams isn't necessarily what's natural for our body. And so I just want you guys to be aware that PH360 is giving you a painting of your body. Your body indicated all of these answers. There's over 10,000 data points in the PH360 profile, and these data points went out and hit all these different other filters, came back and painted a picture of you, and that's what's in your profile. And so sometimes people are thinking, wow, that's not me, I'm not like that. But here's the thing, this is what your body says you are. And so it's fun to consider that perhaps your body has a plan for you, and that sometimes our epigenetic factors in our life, the people we hang around with, the people that we're born to, the place that we live, the jobs we have, the bosses, the teachers, all these people influence us. And sometimes we might even be living out of our natural self. And so that is what we are going to get all learning about over the next 5 Hangouts, and we're going to get to do all of that. So let's just dive into our first one. I'd love to hear, can you guys, I want to make sure you guys can hear me. So somebody chat and say, Jules, we can hear you. I'm sure you can, but nobody's chatted yet. And so I just want to see a little chat in there from somebody. So, all right, guys, don't be bashful. Holy cow. Okay, well, let's just get started then. All right, so what we're going to learn today is we are going to go through the profile, how to fill out the questionnaire. And you guys don't shut it off now, because I guarantee you that you're going to find one answer or two or maybe even more that will be a little bit different because the question, you understood it a little differently. And so first, and I also want to mention that when we go through this updating, this is what you do when you update. We suggest you update every 2 weeks in order to keep your profile fresh and to keep your answers current with what your body is currently asking for. And so just in the beginning, you're going to measure and answer the questions every 2 weeks, and you will see things change. Your measurements will change a little, your answers to your questions, some things will disappear and some things will come back. And so you're going to find that these are all happening as you go. So first of all, we're going to start on the dashboard. After you've logged in, you just go to the dashboard and click on Update. Oh, whoops, you have to log in again. I guess it was a little bit too long to leave it. All right, so here we go. Now, when this box pops up, there are 3 questions here, and you can choose. If you continue working an unfinished session, that would mean that you had shut it down in the middle of completing the profile, and you just click that one. If there's something that you realize, oh my gosh, that's not right, and you want to go in and just change 1 or 2 answers that you realize that, wow, I didn't do those correctly, then you'd click number 2. Now, whenever you're doing new measurements every 2 weeks, if you click number 3, what will happen is it will delete all of your measurements, so you'll have to retake all of your measurements. The great thing about this is that in the track section, your track section will track your measurements of your elbow, of your waist, of your gluteus, maximus, and all of that. And so you're going to have all these measurements. Whenever you do recording new measurements, it docks in a new measurement for you. And so anytime that you want to have that be recorded in your track section, you definitely want to record new measurements. But remember, you will have to go through all of the measurements. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. So here, I'm not going to be going through all the measurements. I'm just going to click fixing an incorrect entry because I'm going through and showing you guys. Okay, so one thing to note, if you guys look up top here, see how all of these are yellow at the top, the 5 circles, the ruler, the head, the body, the heart, and the apple. That means that the entire profile is filled out. And so if it was somewhere that were not completely filled out and there was a little gray area, then that would mean that you needed to go back to that section. You can go to the various sections by clicking on these sidebars. You see, you can click here to go directly to an area, like if you had forgotten maybe your hair color, you changed your hair color, or you measured something different, or you wanted to put in that your feet, you know, how the weight in your feet is, that would be in the body. And so you know, you can go to these various sections, but we're going to start right here. And let's start with weight and height. And so when you're starting PH360, it's really important that you actually weigh yourself. I think this is so funny. There have been some people who actually just guessed at their weight or didn't weigh themselves correctly. The way that this profile is working is it's working in ratios. And so correct weight and correct height now, not before. Most people are a teeny bit shorter than they think they are, and some people are actually even taller than they think they are. And so you definitely want to measure yourself and weigh yourself for the current weight. And over here on this side, you can see that it gives you a little picture and a description on each one of these. And so you can actually see there what to do. Now, okay, so you don't have to quick save on each one, but if you do, that's great. You just click next to go to the next one. It does save everything. Then you can see here that everything needs to be measured. Like when you get a soft measuring tape, you want to have a soft tailor's tape. It's totally different than the stiff metal tape that you measure like a house or you measure a room with. Some people have measured with the metal tapes, and those measurements would be a little off, and even a 1/4 inch can make a difference. And so you definitely want to have a soft tailor's measuring tape. You can get them very inexpensively at any store. Even the dollar store has them. And then you do the measurements. You make sure the tape is very flat and that it is straight. You can see how that line is really straight around the head. It's the largest part of the head, and that's what we're after for the forehead. The jaw is always kind of a fun measurement. As you go through each one of these, you can see that it changes from as we click on them. Now, in the jaw, there is, when you open your mouth, I want everybody just to kind of like put your finger on the side of your ear at the very top of your jawbone and open your mouth, like, you know, until you can feel that where the hinge is. See, open your mouth slightly, and it's at the top of your jawbone near your ear canal. Now feel that. Oh, yeah. And then you can feel where that little indent is, and that's where you're going to place the measuring tape. And you're going to measure around to the middle of the chin, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, how on earth can I tell what measurement that is? The easiest way to measure the jaw is to stand in front of the mirror. In fact, it's a great way to measure everything. If you stand in front of the mirror while you're measuring, you can see the numbers, the big numbers on the measuring tape right in the mirror, and it's so easy. Okay, so you just measure that around, and it's to the very center of your chin. Is that measurement. Now, the measurement, if you're in inches, you can measure up to the 16th. So you could say 7/16, or you could say 5/8, or you could say 1/2. The PH360 program converts most of them into decimals, so it will convert them into decimals. So if you see decimals, don't worry, it's okay. And if you want to enter decimals, so here you could enter 22.5 instead of 22.5 if you wanted to. If you're measuring in centimeters, the same thing that you can measure in exact centimeters up to 2 spaces. So 22.27, 22.38, 38, you know, whatever the centimeter is for you. No problem. In measuring the neck, you're going to go around the smallest part of the neck. It's usually in the middle of the neck, and for men, it's just under the Adam's apple. And so make sure your tape is straight again here, and that one is pretty easy. You don't want to pull anything too tight where it constricts, but you just want to have it nice and hugging your skin. It's always great when you're doing your measurements too to try to get into your underwear or maybe in some exercise clothing, something that's tight-fitting so that your clothing isn't gaping a lot. Because again, the measurements are super important. If you're just starting, the measurements are very important. If you have any questions along the way, please place your questions in the chat box. You just ask the questions in the chat box. And if you're listening to this on the replay, all you have to do is just send a note to support@PH360 and I will answer the questions. Okay, so here on the chest is really important. You're going to want to lift that, lift the tape up on the sides all the way up so that it's straight across. And so you're going to want to feel it hugging right under your armpits. You can see in that drawing. Hold your elbows out when you take this measurement. And when you take this measurement, you're going to breathe in through your nose. You're going to take a deep breath, and then you're going to let it halfway out, and that is your correct measurement. Okay, and then on the rib cage, it's just under the rib cage here. So it's straight across the back and then coming just under breasts for men, for women. Sorry guys, whoops. We don't have any men breasts, but pectoral muscles for men and the breasts for women. That's the way that goes. Okay, awesome. And hang tight, because if you've got your measurements and you're like, oh my gosh, this is boring, I already did my measurements, there will be questions in the other answers that you'll want to listen to. So just hang tight and we'll get through the measurements as quickly as possible. On the waist measurement, you're going to measure in the very, like when you put your hands on your waist, it's not our typical waist measurement that we think of when we're measuring for our pants or something like that. This is the smallest portion of your waist, and it's just under your last rib bone. You can usually feel it right there. Okay, so you'll keep your back straight in all these measurements and then take that measurement. Now on the gluteus, you're going to want to have your very gluteus maximus. The maximus of your gluteus is going to be where you're going to measure across. And so be sure and measure across that point in the back and then come straight into the front. And again, the mirror really helps here, because when you bend over a little bit to look at it, it is changing the measurement, you guys. So it's definitely great to definitely great to use the mirror for these. You don't realize it, but when you bend over, it like adds another ½ inch. So you definitely want to do that. All right, awesome. Now, the next ones are a little more tricky, not too tricky, but when you're measuring on your arms and your legs, you're going to pick your non-dominant arm and leg. Non-dominant would mean that there's a hand that you write with, and there's a hand that you generally, every once in a while, there's a person who's ambidextrous, and then you just choose the one that you use most of the time. But most people have a dominant hand, and you're going to be measuring the other side, the non-dominant arm and non-dominant leg. So when you're measuring your elbow, you measure around the, just where the crease is. The wrist is where your watch would go. So you definitely want to measure just right there where the watch is. Again, you're squeezing this tight, but not so tight that it squeezes your wrist, just adhering to your skin. Okay, so when you do your hand, this one's a little tricky, and it shows here like you've got your hand like going straight up, but the best way to measure your palm is to lay it flat on a table. And you can kind of bend your wrist a little, and you can see like this crease. Just look at your wrist and see this little crease when you bend your wrist a little. That's the starting point. So you place the end of the measuring tape there, and then lay your hand on the table and pull it out from there. And just look over the top, and you can see exactly where your longest finger goes. And then the same for your palm, that you're measuring to the end of your palm, and you can see where the meaty place is and where that crease is at your finger. And just hold your hand flat on the table, and that gives you a nice flat surface, and not where you're crunched up or you're making it smaller or bigger than it needs to be. So that really helps. Just lay it with your back of your hand on the table. That's the best way to do it. Okay, and then I'm just going to check back for a sec to see if anybody has any questions while I've been asking. Oh, wow, look at there you guys are. Hello, everybody. I love it. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Very good. Hi. Woohoo. Let's see. Oh, great. Well, and Simone, you are going to see exactly how to get your results. She wanted to know, how do you get your results once you finish? It's going to be there as soon as we finish. You're going to see exactly how to do it. And so just follow through and we'll do it. And okay, great. And Olivia, I'll answer that question as we go. And then Tracy, I'm going to talk about the hair color shortly. We're still in measurements, and we'll be done with these in just a sec. Okay, so now you guys, I don't know if you notice this or not, but on every one of your descriptions over here, there's this little film right here, and you can just push the film, and you can watch a film that shows you how to do it. And there's actually a voice too, but since I'm talking, then you don't get the voice, but it shows you the exact way to do each measurement. And so you can definitely see there the demonstration. And so if you don't totally get it, all you have to do is just watch the little films. Each one has its own film. Okay, so for the mid-thigh, you're going to measure from the very top where the crease is up at the top of your thigh. You're going to measure between there and the top of your knee where the thigh ends. And it's a little on the outside, but not too far. It's kind of in the midpoint. Like it's sort of just a little off center from top to bottom, but it's not too far off center. And then you're going to measure down, and then there'll be a midpoint. Put your finger where the midpoint is, and then measure around from there. And this is an important measurement. So be sure to take the two-step process and measure mid-thigh. Don't assume you know where it is, and don't assume that the mid is always in the same place, because sometimes your legs will change and your muscles will change, and then it will be a little different. And so be sure to do that. The knee is self-explanatory. You're going to be standing on your knee with your weight evenly distributed for your knee. And so that's how you do that one. The calf is the largest part of the calf. And so you're just going to like put it around the largest part of the calf, and the ankle is the smallest part of the ankle. And you're making sure that you're just basically getting that ankle bone measurement. And then down below, now this is another tricky one, you guys. This is another tricky one. So So when you are measuring your foot length, this is a really important measurement, and it may not be your big toe that's the longest toe. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your foot against a wall, and then you're going to take a flat piece of paper or a book or something that has a straight edge on it, even a ruler, and you're going to put it across at the end where your longest toe is. And then you're going to leave that there, and then you measure between the wall and your foot when you take it out. And so that is how you do that one. And that one is important to get that correct. That's one way to do it. There's probably other ways to do it, and I'm sure you guys have thought of some of them. But one way that not to do it is to hold your foot in the air and measure the bottom of your foot. That is definitely not the way to do it, because your foot will come out a totally different length than it really is if you do it that way. So be sure and put your non-dominant foot on the floor or on a flat surface, and then measure using a straight edge or something that's going across straight. You'll be surprised at the difference in the measurement. There's usually a little difference. All right. Woohoo! Okay, you guys. So that is all of the measurements. Now, if anybody has a question about measurements, I'm going to take that question right now. I'm just going to look and make sure there's no questions about measurements. Let's see. Okay. All right. Looks like we're good to go on the measurements, guys. Way to go. Okay. Now, we click next, but we also could just click over here, and I'm going to go ahead and quick save this, even though I didn't change it. And I could click over here anytime I just want to go to a different section. So I clicked on head, and now we're in the head section. Great. Okay, so head is all things about the head: the skin, the hair, the eyes, the neck, the mouth, and the ears. All right, so regarding skin tone, this is another one where sometimes people might be a little off because some people feel like they might have a little yellow hue to their skin and that sort of thing, but it definitely, you'd be from Asia if your skin is in the yellow category. And if you're from Asia, you'd want to consider this as being probably your category, although if your skin is a bit darker, then you may be one of the others. Pale and freckled is like totally the, redhead kind of freckly. You've got a lot of freckles. And this is your bum color, you guys, not the skin color on your face. This is this is the skin color on your bum. And so medium light is a lot of people are medium light. And then olive is that beautiful kind of rich olive color. They tan really well. Even Yugoslavians, my son has a lot of Yugoslavian in him, and he has an olive colored skin. He doesn't have medium light. Even his bum is olive. And then tan, you've got, just look in these you can see the little boxes pop up, and you can see what to do there. And don't get stressed about this, you guys. Pick the one that is the closest. Look at the different skin colors, and then pick the one that you feel reflects it the most. And don't get stressed about it. If there's ever a time that you need to know something, just take a picture and send it to me, and we will, in support, we will totally take care of you and help you figure it out. So there's no stressing, because stress is definitely your body's enemy. When you are stressed and experiencing a lot of stress, then you are constricting in your cells, and you're causing inflammation to happen, and all these different things are occurring. And so we want to eliminate as much stress as possible. And so that would mean that you just be having fun doing this, okay? All right, we're going to do our best, right? And know that we're here for you, so you never have anything to worry about. We are totally here if you need the answer to a question. Now, the questions I can't answer in support are medical questions. If they're revolving around something that you've got an illness, or if there is some specific kind of medical aspect to it, or if it's very deeply rooted in science, those kinds of questions definitely are for our qualified health coaches, and they are amazing. So if any of you are stumped or need some extra support, more than what Hangouts with Jules, and we're going to be doing some Jules classrooms and some other things like that too after we finish this series. But if you need more support, like one-on-one, how would you like it to have this person who's totally qualified to tell you exactly what is in your profile and why? They know why too. And they're going to tell you everything, and you can spend quality one-on-one time with them doing this. And it's so reasonable. We have made it so that anybody could do the coaching if they wanted to. And so I just wanted to mention that coaching is a really great option. I'll probably put the coaching, I'll put a link for the coaching into your chat box later, not right this moment. Okay, so now on your face. Now, this is what is happening right this moment. Not have you had acne in the past? Do you have it right now? Or lots of pimples, not just a couple. Or are they pimples that always stay kind of in one place? Then that would be sometime when you mark this. Red blotches mean that you have quite a large red blotch. We're not talking about just like a little tiny red blotch, but like there's a pretty good piece of your skin that's red and blotchy. And the capillaries are the same. If you have a mass of capillaries in your face, then you would mark this one. Okay, you guys, this is a big one. A lot of people get wrinkles. Like everybody's saying, oh yeah, I've got wrinkles. Because we are so hard on ourselves, people. Hello. Okay, so when it comes to wrinkles, what you do is you look in the mirror and you relax your face. And don't smile, just look at yourself. And if you see wrinkles like this woman, then you've got wrinkles. Those are lines that are in your face, whether you're smiling or not. And we're not talking about the little like mouth lines. Those lines are there. Of course you have mouth lines because everybody has them. So even little kids have them sometimes. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about like when you're standing there, there's big lines in your forehead, and there's like hangy little wrinkly skin. Now, if you don't have that, then that's not wrinkles. And so don't mark wrinkles. Moles, if you have one mole on your face, you have a mole. And flaky skin is, look, check out the picture, guys. That's like chafing, cracking, not like, oh, my skin's dry, or, like it's literally like this, like really flaky. If it's not this flaky and it's just dry, like I think my skin's dry and I think my lips are dry, but they're really not. So it's marked that way. All right, and then next page. All right, guys, this was a question that Tracy had asked earlier. We're not talking about your color of your hair with any type of dye on it. This would be before dye and before turning gray. So if you're like me, I'm kind of in between. I'm like got some gray hair and my adult hair color is still kind of in there too. And so, and then I've got a little dye in there too. Hello. So anyways, if you are, this would be your natural color, like when maybe you were a bit younger and before you turn gray. Not when you're a child. If you're a towhead when you're a child, your hair is not that color now. It would be whatever color it is. Sometimes towheads stay towheads, but sometimes it changes into even brown hair. And so definitely mark the color that is your current hair color. And do you have gray hair? This is pretty easy because, you can even like pull up your hair in the back and show it to somebody else and ask them if you have gray hair. Sometimes people have gray hair in the front, but not in the back. So you definitely want to check it out. Do I have gray hair in the back? And, can ask somebody else and ask them kind of how much of your hair is that color. And then you'll be able to see a lot of it in the front. And, if you've got a pretty good smattering of it, you just want to mark what it is. We're not trying to like nitpick our bodies right here. We're just trying to get a pretty good description, pretty good picture of who we are now. Okay, so this one has a few questions on it usually. Straight hair is straight, totally straight. And it's straight even with no straightener. You just have straight hair. Loose curly is any hair that has a little curl in it. Like, my hair is loose curly. I have a little curl in it, a little wave in it. And so it doesn't look exactly like this, but it's not straight. So it is loose curly. And then there are people who have tight curls. That would be, this one is a little tight. That's like super tight, like Shirley Temple tight. But if your hair isn't that tight, but it's more tight than loose, then you'd mark this one. And then coily hair would be, typically that would be for someone who had like the kind of hair that you could turn into an afro or that sort of thing. You have a more coarse hair and it is amazing and can do all sorts of things with it. So that would be for the coily hair. And that's how they put it in. Brittle hair means really brittle, you guys. We're not talking about, oh, my hair is a little dry, I don't like it, or whatever. I mean, we are talking about hair that just breaks off and that is in really bad shape. So if it's a little brittle, that's not what we're talking about. Dry hair, same thing. Dry hair would be like just straw. I mean, your hair feels literally like straw. And oily hair would mean that after one day, your hair is completely oily. You have to wash it again because it's so oily. Dandruff is, you know, the white flakes falling around on your shoulders, etc. And if you like bend your head over and go like that and white flakes are falling off, then that would be considered dandruff. Okay, woohoo! And so I wish some of you guys could be in the room here with me. That would be so much fun. I'm just sitting here at a table and I picture all of you guys sitting there like around this table with me. And so that's kind of how I do this. But I really wish that I could actually see your faces. And when we start our new series of Hangouts, we have too many people who wanted to sign up for these introductory Hangouts. But when we do the real Hangouts, we are going to be in the room together, looking at each other and being able to actually talk. And so it will not be chatting and all that, although the chatting has worked pretty well for these introductory Hangouts. And so there will be more Hangouts, and I'll show you those before we end our time together. And if you guys want to sign up for them. Thick hair and fine hair. Now, this is another big one. Okay, so people call me and they say, Jules, I've got lots of fine hair. I mean, like lots of it, so much. It's not like this one looks a little like it's losing hair. But you could have a lot of fine hair, but the difference between fine hair and thick hair is that your ponytail size. If you have a big, thick ponytail, then you have thick hair. But if you have a lot of fine hair, and it doesn't have to be kind of going bald like this, you could just have baby fine hair. Like I have baby fine hair, but it's not going bald. And my ponytail's not very big, but I don't have, like, I'm not losing my hair or anything. I'm just got fine hair. And so that's what you mark there. Now, in this one, in the hairline, this is so easy, you guys, because all you have to do is look at the normal. The normal says that if a woman's hairline is 2 inches to 2.4 inches or 5 centimeters to 6 centimeters above the eyebrows, so that's, you know, just from the center of the forehead where the eyebrows are, and then you measure up. If that space is 2 to 2.4, then you're normal. If it's less than that, then you are low. And if you're more than that, like I am, you're high line. Woohoo, high line, big fat forehead. Yeah, I was never happy with that when I was growing up, but now I'm getting used to it. And like, I used to always have bangs because I wanted to cover it up so much, but now I'm just like, what the heck? I just don't even have bangs anymore. And widow's peak means if you have a little V shape, and let's just call these are the heart-shaped people. They've got these gorgeous little heart-shaped hairlines. If you've got a heart-shaped hairline, like a widow's peak, or if you had a widow's peak when you were younger, you've got a widow's peak, even if it's a high line now. Because some people's widow's peaks, like it was a widow's peak, and then now it's kind of like this ball, like going back, like the heart's getting bigger. The heart's getting bigger, it's still a widow's peak. But if it's just the heart's getting bigger and it's not, you didn't have a widow's peak when you were younger, it's just a high line. Okay, did that make sense? I hope so. Okay, now, is your hair falling out? Hair falling out means clumps of hair, not the normal. Everybody's hair is falling out all the time right now. I mean, every day your hair falls out. When you brush your hair falls out. It's falling out and it's growing back. It's like a transition that happens. You know, hair has a life cycle, and at one point the follicle just lets go of the hair, and then it develops a new piece of hair. And so you are falling out means that it's falling out and not coming back, or it means that like clumps of hair are falling out. It does not mean that you have hair in the bottom of the shower or that you've got it in your brush. Okay, so that would be no. And then you can look at these parts and pretty much see. Now this is a woman's, and then men, you guys have little bald men heads. Little bald men heads. Okay, so you'll see men have men and women have women. And if for any reason some of you are looking at the opposite of what you are, then you have a detail in your profile that has been miscalculated. Meaning that you entered male or female incorrectly. So be sure and send me a note at support@ph360.me, and I will get that fixed for you. Let's see, do you naturally grow facial hair? This is another big one, gals. We are not talking about, we're talking about man whiskers, not like baby blonde hairs or soft little hairs. These are like whiskery whiskers, whiskers, real whiskers. And so, you know, if you have even one of those real whiskers, then and it grows back over and over, then it's, yeah, you have one that's few and sporadic, and then you just put where it is. And if you are if you're like the kind of person like me, like I want this crazy little blonde mustache of mine. I think it looks like a mustache, but it's really not, you guys. It's just blonde hair, and I don't like it. And that's not facial hair, even though I've had it waxed. So definitely in that area. Okay. All right. And you can see where you do it. Now, guys, same thing. If there's some place on your face you're missing some hair, then just leave that box open. Okay. Great. Okay, now, eye color. You guys, these eye colors are not exact. All green eyes do not look like this, and all hazel eyes do not look like that. And so you guys have to use your best judgment on your eye color. There's one thing that I do want to mention, in that just like blue-grays, all blue-grays do not have brown in the middle. But they have like a blue and a gray. They don't necessarily have the brown. And so, but here's one thing that you guys do need to know. Light eyes could be light gray, light green, or light blue. It says blue here, but like my eyes are very light gray, kind of a grayish green, and my eyes are in this category. And so you definitely want to mark that. Okay? And then down here, these are self-explanatory. You can look at those. Dry eyes are not eyes that are dry from watching the computer or a screen. This is a condition, like you've been diagnosed with dry eyes. That would be dry eyes. And then when you're looking at your eyes, you cannot have all of three of these. You can only have one of them. You either have puffy eyes or small bags or big bags or no bags, but you don't have all three. And you could have dark circles and one of these eyes. So if you do have that, then you can mark that. And you can see here, this is like one where it goes deep and it kind of bags at the bottom. This is kind of a medium bag. And then this one's just a little flatter. So, use your best judgment on that. Puffiness, small bags, or big bags. Okay? And dark circles, you can pretty much ask somebody else and say, do I have dark circles? And they'll tell you. Some of these are pretty easy for other people to see. Okay, swelling of the neck is like goiter. Frequent laryngitis would be once a year. If you always get laryngitis, then you'd mark that. If you've ever been diagnosed with hypo or hyperthyroidism, this is another one where you get a lot of people with questions. Like some people had it and then they cured it. So if you had it and you cured it, then you would mark that you don't have it right now. If you have been treating it and you're still treating it, then you still have it. And so that would be hyper or hypo, whichever one you have. If you've had both, which one did you have last? That's the one that you would mark. And if you don't have a thyroid at all and you're taking thyroid medicine, we have, some people have it written in about that. And so if the issue was hypothyroidism, which would be what you're taking the medicine for typically if you don't have a thyroid, then you would mark hypothyroid. Hopefully that makes sense. And if anybody has any questions, again, you can always send me your questions. Okay, so here with your lips, you've got dry lips. That means flaking lips. These are flaking and not just dry like, oh, I want some lippy. I mean, these are really dry lips and like flaking and peeling. And this is cracks, where you've got cracks in the middle and cracks in the corners. Frequent cold sores would be like every 3 months, not like you had one 3 years ago. And then gums, you can see red gums. Swollen gums you can feel with your tongue. And then bleeding gums would be something that happens if you have been flossing maybe and they bleed. You would see the blood. Now, for instance, in this one, like I, for some reason, don't know why, but I developed swollen gums recently, and they're going away, and I haven't taken it off yet because it's about 2 weeks since I updated last. So, that can happen too. Like all of a sudden I've never had this, and then I had it on one side. I had some, and I think it might've been a popcorn kernel, because I do have popcorn, 3 smileys, guys, 3 smiley popcorn. But, I think it was a popcorn kernel, but I didn't know. So I marked it, right? Because you want to make sure that you mark it. And how many cavities do you remember having the past 2 years? I haven't had any, but if you've had whatever, you mark those. All right. Now, on the ears. Okay, crease in the lobe, you guys. Look in the mirror and see how these creases are slanted. They go across the ear in a diagonal. It's not like there's a earring hole and then it goes straight down from the earring hole partially. This is like a crease that goes all the way across the earlobe. So that would be for the earlobe. And then, yeah, you definitely want to see that. See how it goes the crease. I hope I didn't blur that out for you guys. But you can see the crease. Just look on your own and you'll be able to see it for the ears. And then this is where you have no lobe. You just go straight down and attaches to the head. Okay, so if they had one of those, you just mark it. Awesome. Now we're into the body. There's a couple questions here that usually happen. These aren't too bad. And okay, so striations are ridges that you can feel with your thumbnail. When you run your thumbnail across your fingernail, you can feel the bumps. That's a striation. So be sure that you can feel them. It like kind of goes bumpity bump, bump, bump. White spots, you might have a white spot here or there, but white spots, sometimes if you hit your finger, then you get a white spot and it grows out. But we're talking about white spots that stay there and just sort of hang out. And that would be multiple white spots. And brittle ends are easy. You can see that. Nail fungus is there. And now this is another big one for the lunula. I love saying that word. I just love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, now, you guys, almost nobody has a lunula on their little finger. But I can tell you this, I started out with no lunula on my little finger, and now I've got lunulas on all my fingers. But originally, if you don't have one on your little finger, you still are not missing lunulas because lots of people don't have them on the little finger. If it's the little finger and the middle finger, the ring finger, you can barely see it, then you still aren't missing lunulas. It's when you start, like, I don't have a lunula on my ring finger, my middle finger. I only have them on my thumb. Most people have them on the thumb. And so then use your best judgment on that. Because if you have it on the thumb and none of the other fingers, then you're missing the lunulas. If you have them on the thumb and the pointer finger, you're missing the lunulas. But if you've got it on the middle finger all the way across and barely have a little one on your ring finger, then you're not missing the lunulas. Okay? And lunulas will come and go. And so this is one where you have to look at your lunulas each time and see, do I have any lunulas, and mark accordingly. This next one's really fun, you guys. Okay, when you put your hands down on the table right in front of you, like stand up and put your hands on the table. Put your, the edge of your palm at the same length, and then look at your fingers. And is your ring finger longer than your pointer finger? The middle finger, of course, the middle finger is longer, but we're not looking at the middle finger. We're only looking at the ring finger and the pointer finger. If you see both ring fingers are longer, then there's an answer for that. If you see both pointer fingers are longer, there's an answer for that. If you see that the index finger is longer on one hand and the pointer finger is longer on the other, there's an answer for that. And if you see that they're the same, there's an answer for that. But some people have one that's longer and they look at the other hand and they think, oh, that looks the same. But really, really, really look at it, because typically if you have one that's longer, the other one is just a little bit longer on one of them. It looks like it's kind of the same, but it's just a little longer. So be sure and check that out, okay? All right. Okay, between the ages of 7 and 11, this lean and lanky is very tall and like a scarecrow or a skeleton. Like people would have called you Skeleto or, Mr. Scarecrow or Mrs. Scarecrow and that sort of thing. And crooked teeth means your teeth grew in crooked, not like you sucked your thumb and you got buck teeth because you sucked your thumb. This is like they grew in like cattywampus. One goes this way, one goes that way. So that's what those are talking about. And then have you ever had the following? Spinal operation, a hernia or a prolapse, or you've had scoliosis or anything like that. If you have scoliosis, even if it's not bothering you, you definitely want to mark this as being something that you have, okay? And then here, this is for breathing and lungs. Emphysema, chronic bronchitis would be something that you have every, ongoing. You have it like for all winter long, you have bronchitis or that sort of thing. And asthma does not mean that you had childhood asthma. It means that you currently have, you're currently using an inhaler sometimes. That would be you having asthma. or your, the breathing. So that's asthma. But you use an inhaler for it. Varicose veins, if you have a varicose vein, it might not be that big, but if you have one, you have one. And broken capillaries in your legs, definitely. The capillaries, these are kind of a dark purpley ones, and sometimes they're even more purpley, or sometimes they're blue. Those still count. Phlebitis is you definitely know if you have that. You definitely know. Okay, so everybody now, let's all stand up. We've all been sitting for all this time, and you're probably really comfy, but I want you to stand up and take off your shoes and like stand up now and feel the weight of your feet. And don't say like, oh, I'm not going to take my shoes off. Take your darn shoes off. Take your shoes off and then put your feet flat on the floor. And then just rock back and forth a little bit, front to back, and then see where your feet land. Like feel, okay, are they kind of laying on the outside, or are they kind of laying on the inside? Oh wait, we're not to that place yet. Whoops, that's on the next page. I'm sorry. I got all excited when I saw bow legs and knock knees. Okay, well, while you're standing up, put your feet together, and if you can't get your feet together, you have knock knees. And if you put your knees together and your feet go out, then you have knock knees. And if your feet are together and your knees are 3 inches apart, then you have bow legs. Okay? If there's a slight difference, you don't have bow legs. Okay, knee operation, if you've had one, lots of people have had different types of knee operations. And so be sure and mark that if you've had a knee operation. Or if you get muscle cramps in your calf. And now we're going to be on the page I was just talking about. Hello! Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Okay, first one is bunions. You guys know what bunions are, right? Your toe goes phalgic. It's like twisted toward the second toe, and then you've got a little hump there. Flat arches, most of you would know. You've been definitely, if you have flat arches, you not like you just think you have them, but like you really know you have them. You've been tested and you have flat arches. This is where you stand up on these two. You stand up and feel the weight where your foot is. If it just weights in the middle, then you don't need to mark either one of those. But if it goes to the sides or into the middle, then you would mark that. And you guys, that changes. It changes with how your body's feeling. It changes, like there's times when your legs will get longer, like one leg will get longer, or your back twists and your body gets into a state. Our body comes up with all sorts of different things that it does, and your height will even change as you go. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So definitely always stand up and always feel, is this going out, in, or is it just flat? And if it's just flat, there's nothing to mark. Frequent pain or cramps in your foot, that could happen sometimes. Like there was a week where I had frequent pain or cramps in my foot. Like I just kept pointing my toe, and then all of a sudden I'd have this crazy cramp in my foot. So I marked that for that time and then my PH360, when I marked it, gave me foods to balance that part. Gave me foods to balance the cramping in my foot. And so I think it was about maybe 10 days later, it just vanished and I didn't have it anymore, and I haven't had it since. And I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but somehow that's what happened. And so anyways, if you mark these when you have them, then it will give you foods that will help you to remedy it. Of course, you have to eat the foods. That's important too. If you are like, I'm not eating those foods, then it won't work. If you're, because this is, PH360 gives you the foods that are going to balance what's out of balance in your body. Nail fungus is there. Now, cracked heels, you guys, that's really cracked. Like big fissures in the back of your heel. That is not dry heels or, wow, I wish my heels were softer. That's really cracked heels, okay? This is for women, guys, so if you can just hang tight for a sec, and then we're going to be moving pretty quick through the rest of this. Okay, so have you ever had children? Yes, 2 to 3. This is children that you carried to term and birthed. You could have had a C-section, or you could have had them vaginally, but you had them one way or the other. This is not just you got pregnant and then you lost the child when you were 3 months pregnant, or that sort of thing. Now, are you currently, here this is, if you're in menopause, menopause typically lasts around a year, sometimes a bit longer. Post-menopause means that you've gone through most of the symptoms and now you're kind of past it. So that's what that is. If you're currently using a hormonal birth control, there are IUDs that are both hormonal and non-hormonal. So you want to check and see, is your particular birth control hormonal? Pill, I believe the pill is typically always hormonal. I mean, I would say yes. I've never taken the pill personally, but I think that it is typically hormonal, and then an IUD could be or could not be. Okay? And then if you're currently taking hormone replacement medication, that would be something that's affecting and impacting your hormones. It could be estrogen related. There are also DHEA supplements and or some words. There's lots of different prevalent ones and all that. So if you're taking one of those various items and you're not sure what the answer is here, just send it to me and then I will get the answer for you. So if it's changing your hormones, though, that is hormone replacement. All right. Now we're going to go to the next screen. And this is your brain. This is another one where lots of people start marking all these crazy things. You guys, this is real, okay? So epilepsy here, or Alzheimer, that means you've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia, that sort of thing. Sleep disturbances mean that you wake up every night at a certain time and can't sleep because you're thinking about things. That would be a sleep disturbance. Sluggish mind means you literally cannot get your mind to work. It's just in slow motion all the time. Sometimes I speak with people on the phone, like, that are calling me and saying, oh my gosh, I don't have any foods. There's no foods on my list. And then when we went through their profile, in fact, this is how Hangouts with Jules was born, because I would go through their profile and they would have like all of these marks: sleep, sluggish mind, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, not things they'd been diagnosed with, just things that they felt like they had. So this doesn't mean sometimes your mind is sluggish. It means it's really sluggish, like all the time, and you cannot get it going. And difficulty concentrating means that you like totally wander off in the middle of a sentence most of the time. It would be someone with a condition, almost like an ADHD condition, something that's been diagnosed. Poor memory loss. And so you could have ADHD and not have difficulty concentrating also. Memory loss or poor memory, that would mean you're really forgetting things, like you forgot her name and you forgot details about your life that you should be remembering, that sort of thing. Not like you forgot where your car keys were. That's something that lots of people do. And you guys, you're going to love this as you are going through PH360 and you start eating these foods and you start clearing out the debris in your body, what's been causing inflammation for you. Once your body is not inflamed, if you think about this, if any part of your body is inflamed, which is what's happening when there's, these different conditions going on in your body, when any part is inflamed, your brain is reacting. It's trying to make it better. That's what's happening. Your whole entire body is working so hard to make it better. And so you're going to find that as you get more balanced, that your thinking is going to clear up. These are easy. Diabetes means really have diabetes or pre-diabetes, that you've been diagnosed with diabetes. And your profile can actually see some of these things too, and will give you foods accordingly. Even if you didn't mark diabetes, it would still see that you were high blood pressure, kidney stones, the basketball belly. This is a really extensive one, but it's a really firm bellies. Diverticulitis, you guys, is a super special condition, or these little pockets in your intestines that are filling up with stuff. And so if you have not been diagnosed with diverticulitis, do not mark that. And colitis is, any kind of leaky bowel or any of that. If you just think you have it, don't mark it. If you know you have it, if you've been diagnosed with it, then mark it. When you're under stress, what do you tend to do? And this is about cancer. If you don't have cancer, it's at the top. And then there's a place at the bottom for you to put in if there's another kind of cancer they give you. And then here, this is for your family history. So did your grandparents or your parents ever suffer from diabetes? Were there any tumors? Did anybody have tumors? Your parents, your grandparents suffer from carcinomas. That's a cancerous tumor or a significant tumor of any sort. That could be any kind. Did they have cardiovascular problems? Did anybody have a stroke or a heart attack or have an open heart surgery, that sort of thing? Then you mark that. If anybody had debilitating joint illnesses where they had hip replacements or they have arthritis or the big knobby, you can kind of think back to your grandparents and see, like, did they have those big knobby knuckles and that sort of thing? They may have had arthritis. Circulatory problems like varicose veins or phlebitis. Any of the parents or grandparents suffering from osteopenia or osteoporosis after the age of 45. And this is the ancestry of and heritage of your mom or your dad. Like, I was born in the United States, but my heritage, my mother's family came from England and my father's family came from Germany and Switzerland. So you can just put in the heritage of your family. So you could be from Australia, but your heritage might be from India, or it may be from Europe somewhere, or it might be from the United States. And then if you're from the United States, typically you're a montage of something, right? So definitely put in the ancestry, and you could put up to 3, but really after that you're kind of like diluting the whole thing. So just put in the main ones. Okay, exercise. Now, you guys, I know this is terrible. I'm showing you this. I really feel terrible, but my body should be exercising every day, but I've been working so much I haven't been. And so I'm living a sedentary lifestyle currently, and that's what I marked because it's true. Now, this is like really exercise, you guys. This is where it raises your heart rate and brings one to a sweat. Now, I will tell you that I'm a person who doesn't sweat very easily. So if I've brought my heart rate up and I'm breathing heavy and like most other people would be sweating, then that could be considered exercise. But this is 3 hours a week for very little, 3 to 10 for moderate, intense would be 10 plus. And this is not the kind of exercise like I carried my kid around all day. This is exercise. Like weights, you're doing push-ups, you are at the gym, you are doing laps in a pool, you are in a dance class, you're doing something that's really exercise, not just going through your normal daily activities or moving around. We assume that you should be moving around and doing that. And then here you mark, do you want to lose fat, gain muscle mass, tone your body, and then here you can put in anything that's a physical limitation for you. You just add it here, and then it'll come out over here, and then you can just delete it if it gets better. Okay, and then employed. If you are not employed, but you go volunteer 20 hours a week, that is the same as being employed. Or if you are doing some activity that's consistent and you're doing it for some number of hours, then you would mark that down also. And if you have any questions about any of these, you can always email us at support@ph360.me. And how often are you exposed to chemicals or inhalants? That would be like someone who's a cleaner or someone who does hair or nails, someone who's really exposed, not just a normal person who cleans your house once a week, unless you're just really inhaling all these things, frequently. Okay, and flying is when you go up and you come down, that's 1 time. So if you went up and down, that's 2 times to get somewhere. If you went up and down 3 times, that's 3 times. Every time you go up and go down, that is another time. And so in the last year, how many times did you go up and down in a flight? And then how frequently do you travel by train or long-haul bus? If you in the last year, if you haven't done it, then you haven't. And then frequently that you drive more than 20 miles or 30 kilometers in a single trip. So if you drive to work and back and it's 20 miles, then that would be a time. Awesome. Okay, now here, this is another great place, you guys. This is another really fun one. Okay, so some of you have special diets. And what I've noticed is that there's some people that mark all of these because they like paleo, and then they like fish, and they like to be vegan sometimes, and then they want to, they like raw food. And so anyways, here's what I do. What I do, and I suggest, is initially that you mark, no, I don't have a special diet. Wouldn't it be interesting to see what PH360 actually says is right for your body? Because some people, the diet for them is a vegetarian diet. And some people should be eating lots of meat. And some people should be having lots of grains. And some people should be having no grains. And so every body is different, because that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with everybody has a unique body. And not all bodies should ever be juicing. It's not there's nothing here that everybody should be doing. So what I do is I mark no, that I'm not in a special diet. And I see what would PH360 prescribe to me as a foods. Like my 5 smiley foods are the foods that are in my PH360 that are balancing my body. What they took out things that were encouraging my body to be out of balance. Those are on the foods to avoid. And they gave me 5 smiley foods to balance. Okay, so you definitely want to look at that. And so I mark no, and then you can always go back in and, just click on in the update area, just click that you want to change the answer to one question, and come into this section in lifestyle at the bottom. Just click directly to here, and then you can click on whatever you want to see if it's different. But it's good not to have multiples marked for sure. And then personally, I just keep it on no. And if there's foods that, like for instance, if I wasn't a meat eater, then, there's some things I don't eat. And if it comes up on my PH360, I just overlook it. I just don't even get it. Because I don't want to. And it's okay. There's no problem with that. And food allergies, you'd list here. Just beware that, like, for instance, when you type in a food allergy, like, for instance, if you have a soy allergy, and you guys remember that, we've all been through a lifetime of this. We know some things we know that our body reacts to it. And some things our doctors told us. And some things somebody muscle tested us once. And some things a psychic told us, don't eat any soy. And so we've got all these different ideas about why we're supposed to eat or not supposed to eat, whatever. Try PH360. Just try it and see what it says. Let it tell you first. And then, if you want to, you can go back in and you can add in all these different things. If you put in soy, it will not eliminate every soy product. You actually have to eliminate each one individually at this time. But we have a new food section coming, and it's going to be amazing, and you'll love it. And so you'll get to do that when we get it. Okay. How often do you eat dairy in a week? This is just like, what have you been doing? When you're now, see, I'm back down to never. Like this was a few weeks ago. I had dairy on my thing. Now I don't, right? Okay. And cold cuts or prepackaged meats mean it has nitrates in it. So you're eating something with nitrates. It could be sausage. It could be, lunch meat, that sort of thing. How often do you eat red meat? If you eat lunch meat that doesn't have nitrates, then it could be roast beef. It could be, any kind of beef. It could be boar, venison, pork, deer, horse. And remember, guys, this is an international company. And so there are people all around the world that eat all sorts of different things. And if there's something on your diet that you don't eat, that's okay. Just let it go. It's not a big deal. How many vegetables do you eat in a day? How many portions do you eat? How many wheat products are you eating in a week? None. How much water do you consume in a day? Each person consumes a different amount of water. And we're going to see on Tuesdays, Hangout, we're going to look and see what the water means. Like in our track section, how much water you drink is actually calculated for your body type, and are you drinking enough water? My body type does not need as much water as some other body types, although I should be drinking more than this. So, you can, you'll be able to see that in the track section. We'll actually look at it. And then how much alcohol are you drinking? How much coffee or caffeinated beverages are you consuming? Soft drinks, etc. The smoking's easy. You guys can answer that. Following a diet. Okay, now, here's the last question, you guys. What country did you spend most of your time growing up in? If you spent your first 12 years in one country, that's where it is. If you spent 5 years in one country and the rest of your time in another country, it's the second country. Kind of like that. Now, in the past 3 months, what city have you spent most of your time in? Put in the city you spent most of your time in. But this is a really fun thing, you guys, because when you're traveling, like say you're going to, like if I were to go to Bali, like I am going to Bali, you guys, on the Bali Healing Retreat. Let me just mention, you guys, if you know anybody who needs a healing, Matt just announced the most crazy thing ever, and I don't even think it's out to the public yet, but Matt has reduced all of the final spots to, there's only a few, but he reduced them to 2 for 1. So that means that for $6,997, that you and a friend or 2 people can go to Bali. You guys will, that's everything included, every single possible thing except for your airfare. We pick you up at the airport. It's completely PH360 food for an entire week. It's every body treatment that you need, and it's healing. I mean, really powerful healers from all over the world are flying to Bali to be at this retreat with our people. And it's going to be amazing. Miracles are going to happen there. That's how amazing it's going to be. And at this price, wow. I mean, if you are even considering it, you would definitely want to, I'll post it in the chat box so you guys can go and check it out. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at support, but those spots won't be there very long at that price. So if you're interested, be sure and let me know. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be miraculous. And I know the healers that are coming, and they're just unbelievable healers. And so it's PH360 and beyond, basically, is what it is, because these people are going to be working totally at a different level. Than it's going to be wild. So if I were to go to Bali, which I am going to Bali, then I would change this to Bali, and I would see like what comes up for my PH360 in Bali. This is where you change it if you're traveling. You change it in this area. Okay. Now then, what you do next, and Simone, this is your question. What do you do next? You just click right here and you click Get My Results. And then it takes a few minutes because it's gathering all the data from everything we just input. And then you read through this really quick. And then down here, I know the secret thing here. See, it's right here. I can push that. And it brings you to your dashboard. And then from your dashboard, you can look into each one of your areas. And we're going to go over all this on Tuesday. So definitely, you want to be here on Tuesday. Now I'm going to go back to the questions, and I'm going to look at questions and see what other questions people have. Okay. So I think that answered your question, Simone. Yeah, and so Tuesday we're going to go in more detail, but that gives you, at least you can know, you go into each of the areas. All right, where would I input that I work nights? 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. so that my profile reflects this. Olivia, that is not currently a question in the profile. But what would be interesting is when we're going through on, it won't be this week, but it'll be next Sunday, Olivia, we're going to go through the other epigenetic aspects. And so we're going to be looking at your power hour. We're going to be looking at your mind. We're going to be looking at some things that are in your food profile. And there'll be some, like, we're going to have this kind of be putting things together. So you're going to get a chance to see all these different aspects to see, like, are you the type of person that should be working 6 p.m. to 8 a.m.? How does that work for you? And wow, that's a really long night, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. You guys, that's like 14 hours, Olivia. Holy moly. So, and then you have to kind of you'll have to weigh that and see, some people's bodies are great working at night and some people's are not. And so we'll have a chance to kind of go through and see if yours indicates what that would be. Let's see. Arthritis distorts the length of my fingers. Rebecca. Yeah, that's true, Rebecca. Arthritis does distort the length of the fingers. And so you kind of have to, you still have to lay them down though. And using your, even though they have arthritis, you just have to do your best at putting that out. If you had an orthoscopic meniscus, does that mean I've had a knee operation? Yes. If you've had any orthoscopic, I can't say that word, sorry, Crystal, orthoscopic surgeries, or I think they're laser surgeries, but yes, those are considered to be knee operations. It just means there was an issue with your knee, okay? And I have feet and leg cramps. I don't take my magnesium for 4 days. Should I mark cramps though I take magnesium? Yes. I would still mark that you get leg cramps if you are currently having them. I would definitely mark them. Pretty soon you're going to see that your food can really help you with so much of this, because those cramps are happening and it's not just magnesium, and you could actually be ODing on magnesium. I mean, like I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying it's possible. You know, like a lot of people take probiotics all the time, and our body just totally says whatever, and pretty soon it just doesn't even care anymore. And so, you know, probiotics are to be taken when you really need them for something. And so, you know, a lot of people are taking more than they need to in certain things. And what's going to happen with your PH360 food, once you get your correct measurements and all the answers correct, is you're going to see that your foods are going to be giving you what you need in order to remedy whatever's going on with your body and balancing your body. Okay, and yes, if your specific type of cancer is not there, Tracy, then you would mark it in the other, in the cancer area. Just mark other and put it into the profile. That's important. All tumors are not considered cancer, Marjorie. But if a person had a large tumor, a very large one, we're not talking about cysts, and we're not talking about like small, you know, like little masses that get removed. We're talking about a tumor. Like some people have tumors, and sometimes they're cancerous and sometimes they're not. Most of the time they are. And so that would be big tumors, or brain tumors, that sort of thing would be definitely, you'd want to mark those. Even if it wasn't cancerous, if you had a brain tumor, you'd mark it. What do we mark to make sure we don't lose weight? Oh, Marjorie, that's a great one. Okay, I really want to be clear on this, you guys. For all of you people out there that are in Marjorie's boat, you don't want to lose any weight. Do not follow the recommended serving sizes. Here's the funny part. Your biotype is the most dedicated to following the exact amounts that you're supposed to be eating. Your biotype is, but in this case, you should not be doing that. In this case, you just want to eat as much as your heart would be content eating. So when you get your profile back, you'll have like 5 smileys and 4 smileys and 3 smileys, and you might not have a lot of 5s. Maybe you've got a lot of 2s and 3s. Whatever it is that you're going to be eating those foods, but you're going to eat as much as would make you feel pleasurable. And for all of you other peeps that are new, and this is when you're eating, if you're still hungry, eat some veggies. That you can always check in on the veggies. There's lots of fiber in veggies, and you guys, there is lots of protein in veggies. So start looking and seeing where is the protein in my veggies, and start eating your protein in your veggies, you know, if you've been restricted on that for now. And so, and whatever's in there, it always changes, you guys. And so as your body changes, it will change. Okay. Does it matter how much dairy? I use a little in my oatmeal and occasional coffee and yogurt. Well, Mare, here's the thing. That's Mare's question. Mare, if you have like 4 smiley oatmeal, I can't see your profile, so I don't know. But if you had 4 smiley oatmeal and you had coffee was a 1 frowny and yogurt was a 2 frowny, or maybe you had coconut yogurt or one of the alternate yogurts, then you would be not having coffee, and you wouldn't be having yogurt right then. You'd be not using milk if it's out of your profile for now. You'd be trying out some alternates. Like look and see what is your alternate milk. Maybe it's hemp milk, maybe it would be rice milk, or maybe it is cow milk. Some people have cow milk in their profiles. So you guys, for every person, you'll just see it when we do the foods. You're going to see so many different people have different things, and it's really fun. All right. Well, oh, I promised you that I would put the, this is for the Bali Health Retreat. I just put put it in here, and you guys can click on that link if you want to go see the Bali profile, and be sure and go to that. And there's a contact on the sidebar. If you're not ready to sign up but you have questions, be sure and connect with me, because I need to know that you want to come so I can save your place. And then Olivia, yeah, we want to look at play, social, mind. You guys, every hangout is so vital. I'm not kidding. Don't pick and choose. Think about what you got out of this one, and that just know that what we're going to get on Tuesday is going to be amazing. Thursday is foods, and next Sunday is everything else, and then Tuesday is all the mindset and everything, and it's just going to be phenomenal. Like you'll be forwards and backwards knowing your PH360, and we are here for you 100%. And we just know that, like, the reason why we're here, and we have a big mission in the world, and we're out to eliminate pain and disease on the planet. That is the mission of our company. And we're doing that by showing people how they can lead a life where they have control of their own personal health. And so it's really important. If you know anybody who could benefit from PH360, we would love it for you to refer them so much. Be sure and send them some of the links, or let them hear, into some of the things that you're listening to, show them your profile, that sort of thing. And when you guys start feeling amazing, because you're going to find that once you relax, it's going to take you a little time to relax maybe, but once you relax, you're going to find yourself really having fun with this, because that's the goal, you guys. We're not here to add stress to your life by creating a system for you to be stressed about. We're here to have fun and to enjoy life and to de-stress and to take all that inflammation out of our bodies and let it go. So let's have some fun between now and the next 10 days. I'm really excited you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. Love to see you guys in Bali with me. Oh my gosh, anybody and you guys, if you know somebody that really needs healing, even if they're not in PH360, they can come to Bali, because that's the place where they're going to get healed. Of course, they'll have PH360 as part of their package, but you definitely want to refer people that need healing to this healing retreat. It will be amazing. So anyways, all right. Well, I will see you on Tuesday. I love you guys, and you're amazing. If you're not on Facebook, be sure and get on Facebook, and I look forward to seeing you guys out in the world. All right. See you later. Mwah!